Hello, everybody. This is the champion here. We're going to be going over recruiting, the preparation phase of what I like to call the triathlon. Okay, so the preparation phase is all about setting up your board and setting up your program for success. So the first part of the prep phase is understanding during the preseason. And there's three components of that. There's understanding your school grades and deal breakers, your roster and scheme, and your coaching staff. So first things first, we're going to go check out my school and our deal breakers. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to go to set up recruiting board and scout prospects right here. All right, and before we touch anybody, we're going to go to R1, not the prospect list, not the transfer portal, obviously, but to my school. And here you'll see all of your grades that your school has. And on top of that, you'll also see what constitutes those grades, how you can improve them, what goes into them, and also your ranking nationally on the far right side in order to see what your competition looks like as well, and maybe get a gauge if something's a little unclear to see, okay, well, this school is kind of like this, so therefore, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, the reason why you want to understand your grades is so that you can recruit better and you can hard sell things. So, for instance, academic prestige, campus lifestyle with Tulane right here, a B plus and a B minus, very good. And also, these things are the only two deal breakers in grades that do not change ever. Campus lifestyle and academics are static. However, everything else is dynamic, but they have different amounts of dynamism. So, for instance, playing style can change from week to week, and it's like notoriously the most fickle. On top of that, you have to check to see what kind of playing style a certain prospect likes. So if we press R2, we can actually cycle through all the different archetypes of players. So what I put in the guide was defensive tackle, I believe. So let's go down to defensive tackle, gap specialist. All right. And if we look at how to improve defensive rush yards per game, very high. It's the only thing that matters. And Tulane starts off this thing with a B plus, so that's very good. However, if we go to speed rusher, sacks, and that is for defensive tackles only, I believe, not just your entire defense. So keep that in mind. We go to signal callers, linebackers, total tackles, and I believe that's per position as well. But if we go to lurker, defensive pass yards per game. Okay, so always be mindful of what kind of playing style your school has and where it ranks in the different archetypes. Okay, so if I was to highlight some of my favorite uh, playing style grades, or not playing style grades, school grades, it would be proximity to home and playing time. All right. The reason why is because proximity to home, that is static based on where your players are. You know, you don't have to worry about that changing. So if you recruit local people, you don't ever really have to worry about them transferring out. Unless, of course, something down the line with, like, for instance, redshirting a quarterback and they want to transfer out. Those are the rare exceptions. You just got to manage that. It's very simple. Playing time, also something very simple to manage. However, not a lot of people realize that having graduating seniors affects that grade too. So you might be able to get in a star freshman even though you have like a great senior quarterback. Like it'll be okay. You might even be able to redshirt him for a year if you time it right. Okay, so that's the grades. The next part, we're going to understand our coach uh, and our scheme, I believe. Understanding our roster and team scheme. Okay, so what all this means is just going through your roster, understanding who you got and who you don't. Okay, so we got not a lot of talent at quarterback. Okay, we have a sophomore pocket passer, impact. We can look at his caps. Okay, he's got decent caps. He's got impact development. Okay, he's got good badges. All right, he's somebody that can win. He's got a playing time deal breaker. All of these things are good. He's probably going to be a starter for the next 2 years, unless if I just find some superstar that I'd rather play. Okay, and we just kind of go down the line. You might want to take the time to redshirt players. So this true freshman right here, this true freshman right here, they could use an extra year of development, and then that by the time he's a senior, these guys would be maybe a sophomore if they stay, maybe not. Okay, all right, and then we're also going to try to understand our scheme. So we're going to go to formation sub. Here's our offense, the two-lane power spread. It's going to be breaking down into formation. Okay. I like to use this menu to understand defense better. So for instance, 4-2-5, it it doesn't use Mike backers here, for instance. See how it's got these guys are wills, but it's not using wills either. It's using the sub linebacker. So we have Chris Rogers and Sam Howard, correct? When I go to my depth chart, I'll be able to see Chris Rogers and Sam Howard at the sub linebacker position. Okay, so we have a free safety over here in what's typically the strong safety slot. A strong safety down here, and a strong safety over here. So people may not realize that. Notice how he's a 76 overall. The second strong safety is the one that's playing the deep half. The first free safety is playing the deep half, and the first strong safety is the one that's playing that linebacker nickel thing in the 4-2-5 defense. And also, even some people may not realize that they put the best cornerback on the opposite side of the X receiver. Let's see. All right, and I think that's universal for all defenses. So if you want to make sure that your best corner is on what people consider typically their best receiver, make sure to check that in the depth chart. So let's say if I wanted to do that with the corners, let's check the sub linebackers. S. Howard, Chris Rogers, so I can know what I'm talking about. All right, then we go to corner. We can flip that, and then that'll put my best corner on the best receiver. But the reason why you want to understand your scheme is so that you understand what you're trying to recruit. Okay, so looking at that defense, for instance, it doesn't make sense to just load up on run stopping defensive linemen, right? Because you're going to need a pass rush. So if I just had strictly run stopping gap specialists and edge setters throughout that defensive line, I was not going to be able to get any pressure on the quarterback. And I'll be asking my defensive backs and linebackers to work overtime, even further beyond like what the scheme dictates for them in order to play effective defense. Okay, and you can take the same principles when you go to offense. You know, if you're running the option, don't take a pocket passer, take a pure runner or a dual threat quarterback. So just get acclimated with your roster, understand what you're trying to do, and then you'll be in a much better position to filter through recruiting. All right. And so the last thing we're going to do before we actually set up our board is go to our coaches to understand our coaches. So we have our coach abilities tab right here. If you notice, I didn't even do anything to my head coach that I made, so it's good that I checked it. All right, but if we look at the recruiter bonus, it says active perk, 100 bonus experience for signing a recruit. So I'm going to be incentivized to sign as many people as I can, the full 35. In our dynasty, I just did a full 35. I got the most experience I could out of that. All right, we have a talent developer. Well, this is awesome. Okay, so he gets 3,000 bonus XP when a player is drafted, and that helps you too as a head coach. Your coordinators give you points. All right. But as far as so, if we check talent developer, he's got something in quarterback and something in offensive lineman. So he doesn't have anything yet to help you with recruiting. Boost the pipeline bonus for quarterbacks. That would be the one, the tier four. All right. But if we check here in recruiter, all right, he's able to scout quarterbacks quicker. He's able to increase your starting interest. So this is something that you, if you want to do it, you're going to want to do it before uh, the preseason. You're going to want to do it during players leaving at the latest. All right. And then quarterback transfers have more interest. And then he has the first two tiers in offensive line. So that means that when I'm looking, I'm going to be able to recruit. I'm going to be able to scout quarterbacks and offensive line quicker than my rivals, hopefully. And then if we go to motivator, all right, interest boosts when a current quarterback hits the skill cap. Okay, that's a little tricky, and there was exploits at the start of the game to make it to like glitch somebody and turbocharge recruiting, but with auto progression and stuff like that, that's not possible, and you shouldn't do that, you bastard. Um, all right, and then okay, so he's got good stuff, but that's more of an off chance. And then we check our defensive coordinator. Okay, so he doesn't have any recruiting. So that means if I'm scouting, it's going to take forever if I do not personally take a scouting perk with my head coach. All right, but he's got motivator. Ew, gross. Special teams. All right, some tactician and architect, which is going to help get experience for those specific position groups. And apparently, a lot of experience for Armani. Let's see. So, so yeah, so we understand what our coaching can do. So I'm gonna go to my coach. All right. I want. We're just gonna make it so everybody can get scouted quicker. So nice, easy thing. Tier one, super effective. Probably the most valuable 8 points you can spend in a recruiting path. All right. So we're just gonna do that. All right. And now it's finally time to set up our board, okay? I'm just going to quickly go through my roster. Okay, so offensive line could use some players. Yeah, I'm just going to approach this like I need everybody. All right.